The galaxy was dying, and no one knew how to stop it. Ambassador Yuri stood on the bridge of her diplomatic vessel and watched another world burn. The planet below had been called Theranos, home to 6 billion souls. Now it was nothing but a gray mess, every tree and building and person consumed by the hollow. The swarm had taken 3 days to eat the entire world. 3 days. And then it moved on, hungry for more. Yuri's scales had turned pale silver with fear. She had served the Galactic Coalition for 40 years, negotiating treaties and trade agreements between 12 different species. She had never failed. But now, watching Theranos die, she knew that all her words meant nothing. The Hollow did not negotiate. It did not make deals. It only ate. The Coalition had sent 17 fleets against the swarm. Every ship was destroyed. Every soldier was absorbed into the Hollow's biomass. The swarm learned from everything it consumed. It took their weapons, their tactics, their knowledge, and it grew stronger. Nothing worked. Nothing could stop it. And so the Coalition made a decision that many called madness. They would contact the humans. Humanity had been quarantined for 300 years. When the Coalition first discovered Earth, they found a species at war with itself. Humans killed each other over land, over resources, over ideas. They built weapons that could crack planets. They modified their own bodies and minds in ways that were considered crimes against nature. The Coalition took one look at humanity and decided to leave them alone. A species that dangerous was better kept in isolation, but now the Hollow was coming, and the Coalition needed dangerous. Yuri's ship entered Earth's solar system and was immediately surrounded by human patrol vessels. They were small and fast and covered in weapons. The humans did not trust visitors. Yuri transmitted her diplomatic codes and waited. After 6 hours, she was given permission to dock at an orbital station above Earth. The station was called Jiangzhong. It was massive, a ring of metal and glass that circled the planet like a crown. Yuri stepped off her ship and found a single human waiting for her. He was not a soldier or a politician. He wore a simple gray uniform with no rank or medals. His hair was black with streaks of white, and his eyes looked tired. Like he had not slept in years. He bowed his head slightly. "Ambassador Yuri, I am Park Taiho. I will be handling your request." Yuri had prepared a long speech about the Hollow threat, about the millions of lives at stake, about the need for cooperation between species. But Taiho raised his hand to stop her. "We know about the Hollow," he said. "We have been watching, and we know what you want." Yuri felt hope rise in her chest. "Then you will help us? You will send soldiers?" Taiho did not answer right away. He turned and began walking down a long corridor, and Yuri followed. They passed through sections of the station that grew darker and colder. The lights became dim. The walls became thick metal with no windows. It felt like descending into a tomb. "The Coalition quarantined us because they feared what we might do," Taiho said as they walked. "They were right to be afraid. Humans are not like other species. We do not just fight to survive. We fight because something inside us needs to fight. We tried to control that part of ourselves. We built laws and prisons and systems to keep the violence contained. But some humans are beyond control." They stopped in front of a massive door. It was 3 meters thick and covered in warning symbols. Taiho placed his hand on a scanner, and the door began to open. "We don't call them soldiers," he said. "We call them the Unchained." The room beyond was dark except for rows of glowing screens. Each screen showed a face and a name and a list of crimes. Yuri walked forward and began to read, and her blood turned cold. The first file showed a woman named Kang Duri. She had been a special operations soldier, one of the best in human history. Then something broke inside her during a mission. She killed 47 people in a single night, including members of her own team. When they tried to arrest her, she killed 12 more. When they tried to execute her, the execution failed. 3 times. The next file showed a man named Cho Biam. He was a serial killer who had hunted victims in the largest cities on Earth. He was patient and intelligent and showed no emotion when captured. He told the court that he killed because he wanted to understand what made people stop working. Like they were machines he was taking apart. There were more files. Hundreds of them. Killers and terrorists and war criminals. People who had done things so terrible that humanity had built special prisons just to contain them. Prisons in the asteroid belt, far from any inhabited world. Places where they could never escape. These are monsters, Yuri whispered. Yes, Taiho agreed. They are, we asked for warriors. Soldiers who could fight the hollow and protect innocent lives. Taiho turned to face her. His tired eyes held something that might have been pity. Ambassador, the hollow has eaten 17 star systems. It has consumed trillions of lives. It has defeated every fleet and every army the coalition has sent against it. You do not need soldiers. Soldiers follow orders. Soldiers fight with honor. Soldiers can be broken. He gestured at the screens around them. These things cannot be broken. We have tried. They do not stop. They do not surrender. They do not die when they are supposed to die. Yuri felt sick. You cannot ask us to trust these. These creatures. I am not asking you to trust them. I am telling you what they are. Taiho's voice was calm and flat. The coalition came to Earth asking for help. You wanted us to send our finest warriors to save the galaxy. But our finest warriors already failed against enemies far weaker than the Hollow. So we will send you something else. We will send you the ones who scared us. The ones we locked away because we could not control them and could not kill them. He reached out and touched one of the screens. It showed a young woman with empty eyes. Her name was Moon Jia. You asked for soldiers? Taiho said. We are sending you the beasts they could not kill. Yuri stared at the faces on the screens. Killers, monsters, the worst humanity had to offer. But then she thought about Theranos. She thought about the 6 billion dead. She thought about the hollow spreading across the galaxy, eating everything in its path. Maybe monsters were exactly what they needed. How soon can they be ready? She asked. Taiho almost smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. They have been ready their whole lives, he said. They just needed something worthy to kill. The prison was called Black Cradle, and it floated in the darkest part of the solar system. It was built on a dead rock in the Kuiper Belt. Far from the sun, far from Earth, far from anything alive. The cold outside was absolute. The silence was total. This was where humanity sent the things it could not kill. Lieutenant Shin Do-yeon stood in the control room and watched the thawing process begin. He was 32 years old, a career military officer with a clean record and a reputation for following orders. When his commanders asked for volunteers to lead the Unchained, no one raised their hand. So Do-yeon did. He believed in duty. He believed that someone had to do the hard jobs. Now, watching the first cryogenic pod open, he wondered if he had made a mistake. Steam poured out of the pod as the ice melted. Inside was a woman. She was tall and lean, with short black hair and a face that showed no expression at all. Her eyes opened, and Do-yeon felt something cold run down his spine. Her eyes did not look human. They looked like the eyes of a shark. Empty, impatient, and hungry, her name was Kongduri, the guards kept. Their weapons pointed at her as she stepped out of the pod. She did not look at them. She looked at Do-yeon. Why am I awake? Her voice was flat, like she was asking about the weather. Do-yeon kept his own voice steady. The galaxy is at war. An enemy called the Hollow is destroying everything. The coalition asked humanity for help, and humanity sent me. It was not a question. You and others, you will form a unit. You will fight the Hollow. Duri looked at the guards, then back at Do-yeon. And if I refuse? Then you go back in the pod and wait for the Hollow to reach Earth. When it does, it will consume this station and everything in it, including you. For a long moment, Duri said nothing. Then something changed in her eyes. It was not quite a smile, but it was close. Show me the enemy, she said. They thawed 4 more. Cho Byum came out of his pod calmly, like he was waking from a nap. He was average height, average build, with a face that no one would remember. That was how he had hunted for so long without being caught. He looked at Do-yeon and tilted his head slightly, studying him. You are afraid of us, Byum said. Good, fear keeps people careful. Yoon-hana was next. She had been a combat medic before her court-martial. She knew more about the human body than most doctors, but she had used that knowledge in ways that broke every law of war. When she stepped out of the pod, she immediately looked at the other prisoners and began assessing them. Not as people, but as systems. Machines made of meat that she could repair or break apart. Beak Insu was thin and pale, with eyes that never stopped moving. He had been a cyber terrorist who collapsed 3 planetary economies with nothing but a computer and time. He had also wired explosives into his own body, connected to his heartbeat. If he died, everything nearby would die with him. The guards stood a little farther away from him. The last one was the youngest. Moon Jia was only 26, but she had been killing since she was 8 years old. She was a product of an illegal genetics program that tried to build the perfect soldier. They gave her faster reflexes, stronger bones, extra organs, and no memory of being anything else. She did not know if she had ever been a normal child. She did not know if she could be anything other than a weapon. She looked at the others as she stepped out of her pod. Killers, all of them, but different kinds. Dury was silent and precise. Biam was curious and cold. Hannah was clinical and cruel. Insu was calculating and paranoid. And Jia? She did not know what she was. She had never been given time to find out. Doyan led them to a briefing room where screens showed images of the Hollow. They saw worlds being consumed, fleets being destroyed, soldiers being absorbed into gray biomass. The Hollow was not just an army. It was a living thing that ate everything it touched and grew stronger from it. The Coalition has been fighting this enemy for 2 years, Doyan said. They have lost every battle. Every weapon, every tactic, every strategy has failed. The Hollow learns and adapts faster than anything we have ever seen. Biam leaned forward, studying the images. It is a hive mind. One intelligence controlling trillions of forms. Interesting. It is a target, Dury said. Doyan nodded. You will be deployed to the front lines. You will engage the Hollow directly. Your mission is to find a way to hurt it. Insu laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. We are 5 people against a swarm that has killed trillions. What makes you think we can do anything? Because you are not people, Doyan said. You are the things that humanity could not kill. Maybe the Hollow cannot kill you either. Hannah smiled. It made her look like a skull. Or maybe it will kill us and you will be rid of your problem. Doyan did not deny it. They all knew the truth. This mission was not just about saving the galaxy. It was about using monsters against monsters and hoping that at least one side would lose. They were given equipment. Combat suits that enhanced their strength and speed. Weapons that the Coalition had designed and humans had improved. A gunship that was fast and heavily armed. Everything they needed to fight, but they were not a team. Teams trusted each other. These 5 had no trust. Dury and Biam had tried to kill each other once, years ago, when they were both free. Hannah saw everyone as a test subject. Insu trusted only numbers and probability. Jia did not know how to trust anyone. They sat in the gunship as it launched from Black Cradle, flying toward the war. 5 killers in a metal box, surrounded by the cold dark of space. Doyan sat apart from them, watching. He was their handler, their link to command, their leash. But he knew the leash was thin. These were not soldiers who followed orders. They were forces of nature that he was trying to aim. Jia sat in the corner, checking her weapons. She felt Doyan watching her. You volunteered for this, she said without looking up. Yes. Why? Doyan thought about the question. Because someone had to. That is not a reason. That is an excuse. Jia finally looked at him. You are not like the others who guarded us. They were afraid and they hated us for making them afraid? You are afraid too, but you do not hate us. No, Doyan admitted. I do not. Then what do you feel? Doyan looked at her for a long moment. This young woman who had been turned into a weapon before she could choose anything else. I feel sorry for you, he said. All of you. Jia did not know how to respond to that. No one had ever felt sorry for her before. She turned back to her weapons and said nothing. The gunship flew on through the dark. carrying its cargo of monsters toward the war. Behind them, Black Cradle grew small and disappeared. Ahead of them, the Hollow waited. The galaxy had asked for soldiers. It was about to learn what humanity sent instead. The planet was called Valith, and it was dying from orbit. Gia could see the gray spreading across the surface like a disease. Forests, cities, oceans, all of it being consumed and converted into hollow biomass. The swarm moved like a tide, slow and steady and unstoppable. Coalition ships hung in orbit, firing down at the surface, but it made no difference. The Hollow just absorbed the energy and kept growing. General Oren met them when they docked with the command ship. He was a Makari, tall and broad, with 4 muscular arms and skin like blue stone. He looked at the 5 humans and did not hide his disgust. "These are the reinforcements?" He turned to Doyan. "We asked for an army. You bring us 5 criminals." Doyan stayed calm. "These 5 are worth more than an army, General. They are murderers and terrorists. We have seen their files." "Yes," Duri said. She stepped forward, and the guards around Oren raised their weapons. She did not seem to notice. "We are all of those things. And we are still here. How many of your soldiers can say the same?" Oren's 4 hands clenched into fists. "You will show respect. I will show results." Duri's voice did not change. "Tell me where the Hollow is thickest. That is where we will go." The general stared at her. He was twice her size and had fought in a dozen wars, but something in her eyes made him hesitate. She was not threatening him. She was not boasting. She was simply stating a fact. "The primary concentration is in the northern continent," he said finally. "The swarm has established a major growth node there. We believe it is some kind of command center." "Then that is our target." Oren shook his head. "We have sent 3 assault teams against that node. None returned. The Hollow is too dense, too adaptive. It learns from every attack." BM smiled his empty smile. "Then we will have to teach it something new." They dropped to the surface in their gunship, cutting through clouds of ash and spores. The air outside was toxic, filled with hollow particles that would start converting organic matter on contact. Their suits kept them safe, but Gia could feel the swarm pressing against her helmet. Trying to get in, the northern continent was a nightmare. Every surface was covered in gray biomass. It pulsed and shifted like it was breathing. Shapes moved through it, hollow forms built for combat, all claws and teeth and armored shells. Thousands of them. Maybe millions. Most soldiers would have retreated. Most soldiers would have called for evacuation and orbital strikes. Duri studied the swarm for 30 seconds. Then she gave her first order. "Insu, find their communication network. BM, watch for patterns. Hana, keep us functional. Gia, with me." They moved into the swarm. What happened next was not a battle. It was a hunt. Insu connected to the local data networks, the systems that the Hollow had absorbed and converted. He moved through them like a ghost, planting viruses and traps, turning the swarm's own infrastructure against it. Defense turrets that the Hollow had consumed suddenly turned and began firing into the biomass. Power systems overloaded and exploded. The swarm screamed in frequencies that made Gia's teeth hurt. BM watched everything. He saw the hollow forms moving, attacking, retreating, and he found the patterns. The swarm was not random. It had a structure, a logic. And hidden in that logic were nodes, control points where the hive mind focused its attention. "There," he said over the comm, marking locations on their displays. "Those are the nerve centers. Destroy those and the local swarm will lose coordination." Duri did not hesitate. She and Gia moved toward the nearest node, cutting through hollow forms like they were made of paper. Duri fought with a silence that was almost peaceful. No wasted movement. No wasted energy. Every strike was a kill. Gia fought differently. She was faster, more aggressive, using her engineered body to its limits. She had been built for this. Her muscles and bones and reflexes had been designed in a laboratory to create the perfect killer. For the first time in years, she was doing exactly what she was made to do. It felt good. And that scared her. They reached the first node, a pulsing mass of tissue and machinery. Yuri planted explosives while Gia held off the swarm. The hollow forms kept coming, wave after wave, but Gia did not stop. She could not stop. Something inside her would not let her. The node exploded. Around them, hundreds of hollow forms suddenly froze, then collapsed. Without the node to coordinate them, they were just dead meat. "One down," Yuri said. "4 more." They destroyed the second node. Then the third. The swarm began to change tactics, pulling back from the assault and trying to protect its remaining nodes. That was when Bion noticed something strange. "It is afraid," he said over the comm. His voice was fascinated. "The hollow is afraid of us." Hannah laughed from her position at the gunship. She was monitoring their vital signs, ready to patch them up when they returned. "Good, fear makes things stupid." They hit the fourth node. Gia took a wound, a hollow blade cutting through her suit and into her side. She felt the swarm particles trying to enter her blood, trying to start the conversion process. Her modified immune system fought back, burning the particles out with engineered antibodies. It hurt like fire, but she kept fighting. Hannah talked her through it over the comm, calm and clinical. "The wound is not fatal. The conversion has been stopped. You have approximately 4 hours before the tissue damage becomes critical. I suggest you hurry." They destroyed the fourth node. Then the fifth, the northern swarm, collapsed. Without its coordination, the hollow biomass went dormant, just gray matter sitting on the ground. Not dead, but not active. Not a threat. Yuri stood in the middle of the battlefield and looked at the sky. Above them, General Oren's command ship was still in orbit. "Tell the general the northern continent is clear," she said to Doyon. "He can begin evacuation." There was a long silence on the comm. When Oren spoke, his voice was different. The disgust was gone. In its place was something that might have been fear or might have been respect. "What are you?" he asked. Yuri did not answer. She turned and walked back to the gunship, stepping over the bodies of 1,000 hollow forms. But Gia heard Doyon respond quietly, almost to himself. "They are what happens when humans stop pretending to be civilized." They returned to orbit covered in blood and biomass. Hannah treated Gia's wound, cutting away the infected tissue and sealing what remained. It was not gentle. Hannah did not believe in gentle. "You will live," she said when she was done. "Try to be more careful with my work." Gia looked at the other woman. "Your work? I keep this team functional. That makes your body my responsibility." Hannah's eyes were cold and focused. "Do not waste my effort." Later, Gia sat alone in the gunship's cargo bay. She looked at her hands. They were clean now, but she could still feel the hollow blood on them. She could still feel the joy of the fight. Doyon found her there. "The general wants to give us a commendation," he said. "The coalition is calling you heroes." Gia shook her head. "We are not heroes. Heroes save people because it is right. We killed because it is what we do." Doyon sat down across from her. "Does the reason matter if the result is the same?" "It matters to me." Doyon was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe that is what makes you different from the others." Gia looked at him. She wanted to believe that was true. She wanted to believe she was more than just a weapon, but deep inside, in the place where normal people kept their humanity, she felt only emptiness. The hollow was still out there. The war was not over, and something told her that before the end, she would find out exactly what she was. The victory at Valeth changed everything. News of the battle spread across the coalition like fire. 5 humans had done what entire fleets could not. They had walked into the hollow's heart and torn it apart from inside. Some species called them saviors. Others called them demons. Everyone was afraid. Ambassador Yuri traveled to Earth's orbital station again, but this time she was not alone. A delegation of coalition leaders came with her, and they were not happy. Director Taiho met them in the same room where he had first shown Yuri the files of the Unchained. The screens were dark now, but everyone remembered what they had seen. "You lied to us," said the Lefani High Minister, a tall figure with silver scales and cold eyes. "You said you were sending soldiers. You sent monsters." Taiho did not react. I said we were sending what the Hollow needed to face. I did not lie. These criminals have committed atrocities. They are not fit to represent your species. They are not meant to represent us. They are meant to fight for you. A Makari general slammed his 4 fists on the table. And when the war is over, what then? Do you expect us to let these killers walk free among our people? Taiho was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. When the war is over, most of them will be dead. They know this. They do not expect to survive. They are not fighting for freedom or glory. They are fighting because it is the only thing left for them to do. He looked around the room at the alien faces. You came to us for help? You were dying and we answered. Maybe you do not like what we sent. Maybe you think we should have given you clean soldiers with clean hands and clean consciences. But those soldiers could not beat the Hollow. These ones can. So you will use them and you will let them die for you, and then you will go back to being afraid of humanity. That is the deal. It was always the deal. The room was silent. No one argued. Because they knew he was right. Far away on a coalition battle station, the Unchained were falling apart. Chobium had stopped sleeping. He spent his hours studying the Hollow, analyzing every scrap of data, every battle recording, every biological sample. He talked about the swarm like it was beautiful, like it was art. He said he could feel it thinking. It is not evil, he told Gio one night. His eyes were red and his hands were shaking. It does not hate us. It does not even see us as enemies. We are just food, resources, that is all anything is to it. He smiled, and the smile was wrong. Do you not find that peaceful? No anger. No fear. Just pure purpose. Gia stepped away from him. You sound like you want to join it? Biam did not deny it. I want to understand it. And sometimes understanding requires becoming. Yunhala was getting worse too. Her medical interventions had kept the team alive through injuries that should have been fatal, but her methods were becoming more extreme. She did not just heal them. She improved them. She added drugs that enhanced their reflexes and strength, but the side effects were dangerous. She did not seem to care. When Doyan confronted her about it, she just looked at him with her cold eyes. They are weapons, she said. I am keeping the weapons functional. That is my purpose. They are people. No, they stopped being people a long time ago. So did I? Beacon Su was the most honest about the situation? He had calculated their probability of survival and shared it with everyone. 12%, he said flatly. That is our chance of living through this war. And that assumes the Hollow does not adapt to us, which it will. He tapped the side of his head. I have already prepared. When I die, the explosives in my body will detonate. I will take as many of them with me as I can. It is simple mathematics. Only Kangduri seemed unchanged. She trained and fought and killed with the same silent efficiency as always. If she had doubts or fears, she never showed them, but Gia watched her sometimes, and she saw something in the older woman's eyes. Not peace, not anger, just emptiness. Like there was nothing left inside her except the need for the next mission, the next fight, the next kill. Gia was afraid she was becoming the same. She went to Doyan because he was the only one who still treated her like a person. Am I human? She asked him. They were sitting in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Doyan turned to her with surprise. What do you mean? I was built in a laboratory. My genes were designed. My body was engineered. I do not remember being a child. I do not remember ever being anything except what I am now. She held up her hands. These hands have killed hundreds of people, maybe thousands. And when I fight the Hollow, when I am in the middle of the battle, I feel, she struggled for the word, I feel right. Like I am doing exactly what I am supposed to do. Like killing is the only thing I am good for. Doyan was quiet for a long moment. You are asking the wrong question, he said finally. You are asking if you are human like it is something you either are or are not. But being human is not about how you were made. It is about what you choose. And if I choose to kill? If that is all I want? Is it all you want? Gia thought about the question. She thought about Bion's obsession with the hollow Hana's cruelty, Insu's cold mathematics, Duri's emptiness. She thought about how easy it would be to become like them. To stop caring about anything except the next fight? No, she said quietly. It is not all I want. But I do not know what else there is. Doyon smiled, just a little. That is enough. That is the beginning. Before Gia could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the station. The Hollow had adapted. It had studied the Unchained, analyzed their tactics, their biology, their weaknesses, and it had created something new. They called them the Hollowborn. They were not like the other swarm forms. They were not mindless drones or simple predators. They were built from human DNA, harvested from the soldiers the Hollow had consumed. They had human speed, human creativity, human aggression. They were the swarm's answer to the Unchained, and they were winning. Reports came in from across the front lines. Coalition forces were being slaughtered. The Hollowborn moved in small groups, striking fast and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. They did not just kill soldiers. They studied them, learned from them, then killed them more efficiently. Duri gathered the team in the briefing room. Her face was as empty as always, but there was something new in her voice. Something that might have been anticipation. The Hollow has sent monsters to fight monsters, she said. Good. Now we will see which monsters are stronger. Insu pulled up the tactical data. The Hollow was massing its forces, pulling back from the conquered systems and gathering in one place. A massive concentration of biomass, bigger than anything they had seen before, moon-sized, planet-sized, and it was heading for Earth. It knows, BM said softly. It knows we came from Earth. It is going to destroy our home. Hana began preparing her medical supplies. Then we will have to stop it. Duri looked at each of them in turn. The serial killer, the mad doctor, the terrorist, the engineered weapon. Broken people, all of them, monsters, but they were humanity's monsters. And they would not let the Hollow take their world. We move in 6 hours, Duri said. Get ready. Gia checked her weapons and tried not to think about the 12% chance of survival. She tried not to think about what Bium had said about joining the Hollow. She tried not to think about whether she was human or just a very complicated machine. She thought about Doyen's words instead. Being human is about what you choose. Gia chose to fight, whatever she was, whatever she had been made to be. She would face the Hollow, and she would not stop until it was dead. Or that was her choice. That was what made her human. The Hollow came for Earth like a god of hunger. Its primary mass filled the sky, a moon-sized sphere of biomass and absorbed technology surrounded by billions of smaller forms. Ships tried to stop it. They failed. Defense stations fired everything they had. It was not enough. The Hollow ate missiles and lasers and nuclear fire and kept coming. From the observation deck of the last Coalition battleship, Gia watched her homeworld prepare to die. The fleet was shattered. 90% of the ships were gone, converted into hollow biomass, or simply destroyed. The survivors were scattered and broken. There was no more strategy, no more coordination. Just desperate people firing at an enemy they could not stop. Doyon found her there. Command has ordered a full retreat, he said. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. All remaining ships are to fall back and regroup. They are abandoning Earth. Gia did not look away from the window. And the Unchained? We have been ordered to retreat with the fleet. Now she looked at him. Is that what Duri said? Doyon almost smiled. Duri said something I cannot repeat. Then she told Command to retreat without us. We are going in. Into that? Gia gestured at the Hollow. The massive form was entering Earth's orbit now, blocking out the stars. Into that. She nodded slowly. She had known it would end like this. They all had. Then let us go kill something, she said. The team gathered in the gunship for the last time. They looked wrong, all of them. Hana had been pumping them full of combat drugs for hours, pushing their bodies past the breaking point. They were faster and stronger than ever before, but they were also dying. The human body was not meant to run this hot for this long. They had hours left. Maybe less. Duri looked at each of them. She did not give a speech. She did not offer comfort or hope. She just said what needed to be said. The Hollow has a central intelligence, a core. We find it, we destroy it, the swarm dies. She paused. We will probably not survive, but Earth will. That is enough, no one argued. No one hesitated, and Sue spoke first. I will need direct access to the Hollow's network. I can tear it apart from inside, but I will have to upload myself. My body will not survive the process. Dury nodded. Do it. Biam stood up. His eyes were calm, clearer than they had been in weeks. The madness was still there, but it had focused into something sharp and purposeful. I know how the Hollow thinks, he said. I have been studying it, learning it, almost becoming it. I can get us to the core. I can make it listen to me. He smiled his empty smile. And then I can tell it a lie it will believe. Hannah did not say anything. She just checked her medical equipment one more time, making sure she could keep them fighting until the very end. Gia looked at Dury. The older woman's face was still empty, still unreadable. But there was something in her eyes now, something that looked almost like peace. What about you? Ja asked. What will you do? Dury's answer was simple. What I have always done. Kill until I cannot kill anymore. The gunship launched into the swarm. What followed was not a battle. It was a butchering. The Hollowborn came at them in waves, human-shaped nightmares with claws and teeth and perfect killing instincts. Gia and Dury met them head-on, carving through them with a violence that was almost beautiful. They were beyond fear now, beyond pain. Hana's drugs sang in their blood, making them faster than thought. Sue connected to the Hollow's network and began his assault. Data streams poured through his mind, burning away everything that made him human. He did not care. He found the swarm's coordination nodes and destroyed them one by one, turning billions of hollow forms into mindless chaos. His body slumped in his seat, but his mind kept fighting. When the explosives in his spine finally detonated, he took an entire section of the swarm with him. They reached the core. It was at the center of the Hollow's primary mass, a pulsing thing of flesh and light and absorbed minds. It was not just an intelligence. It was a million intelligences, all the species it had consumed over its million-year existence, all bound together into a single endless hunger. Biam walked toward it while the others held off the swarm. I know what you are, he said to the Hollow. His voice was calm, almost gentle. You consume because you are afraid. Afraid of being alone? Afraid of the empty spaces between stars? You eat everything so that nothing can be separate from you. The Hollow's attention focused on him. A million minds watching through a million eyes. But there is something you do not understand, Biam continued. Something that cannot be consumed. He smiled one last time. Sacrifice. The choice to end yourself for something else. You cannot absorb that. You cannot learn it. It breaks your logic. He pulled out a device. A bomb that Sue had built, powerful enough to crack a planet? Let me show you, Biam said. The core screamed as the bomb detonated. Gia felt the explosion through her whole body. The primary mass shuddered and began to break apart, its intelligence shattered, its coordination gone. All around her, hollow forms collapsed and went still. But they were deep inside the swarm, and the way out was closing. Go, Dury said. Gia turned to her. The older woman was covered in blood, her suit torn, her body failing. Hannah's drugs were wearing off, and the damage was catching up to her. Dury, we can make it together. No, Dury's voice was flat, final. I will hold them here. You will get out. I will not leave you. Dury looked at her, and for the first time, Gia saw something human in those shark-dead eyes. Something like warmth. You asked me once if we were human, Dury said. I told you we were what humans became when they had no other choice. But I was wrong. She put her hand on Gia's shoulder. You are not what you were made to be. You are what you choose. Now choose to live. She pushed Gia toward the exit and turned back to face the swarm. Gia ran. Behind her she heard Dury fighting. She heard the sounds of violence that had defined that woman's entire existence. And then she heard silence. Hannah was waiting at the gunship. She was pale and shaking, her own body failing from the drugs she had pumped into herself to keep going. "Get in," she said. "I will fly us out. What about your wounds? You need treatment." Hannah laughed. It was a broken sound. "I kept you alive. That was my purpose. Now let me finish it." She flew the gunship out of the collapsing swarm while her body shut down around her. She died with her hands on the controls, her eyes open. Her last act one of creation instead of destruction, the hollow was broken. Without its core intelligence, the swarm went dormant. The moon-sized mass began to drift apart, becoming nothing but dead matter floating in space. The billions of hollow forms across the galaxy fell silent and stopped moving. Earth was saved. Gia was pulled from the gunship by rescue teams. She was the only survivor. The coalition offered her everything. Citizenship, wealth, a new name, and a new life. She could go anywhere, be anyone. The war was over, and she was a hero. She refused. She asked for only one thing, to return to Black Cradle. Not as a prisoner, but as a warden. Because there were others in those frozen pods, others like her who had been built or broken into weapons. And someday, the galaxy might need them again. Ambassador Yuri visited her there, in the cold silence of the Kuiper Belt. The prison was quiet now, but it was not empty. The pods glowed softly in the darkness, each one holding a monster that humanity could not kill. "Do you regret it?" Yuri asked. "What you are?" Gia thought about the question for a long time. She thought about Duri's silence and BM's obsession and Hana's cruelty and Insu's cold mathematics. She thought about the choices they had made and the prices they had paid. She thought about her own hands, built in a laboratory to be weapons, and what she had done with them. "The galaxy asked for soldiers," she said finally. "They should have been more specific." Yuri did not know how to respond to that. Gia turned back to the rows of frozen monsters, humanity's final weapons, sleeping in the dark. Waiting. Because the hollow was broken, but it was not dead. Somewhere out there, in the space between stars, the fragments were drifting. Maybe they would come together again. Maybe they would remember their hunger. And when they did, humanity would be ready. Gia looked at her reflection in the glass of the nearest pod. A young woman with old eyes and hands made for killing. She was not human. Not the way other people were, but she had chosen to protect humanity, and that was enough. That was what made her real. The galaxy had asked for soldiers. Humanity had sent the beasts they could not kill, and in the end the beasts had saved them all.